Part 12. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 111. Damn it. Forget about this. His senses are amazing, but normal people are not. Lin Ziyan looked at the weird looks in Oda's and his daughter's eyes, and actually felt a little panicked. Of course I heard you when you spoke so loudly. Although Lin Ziyan was panicking, he still looked calm on the outside. But I just spoke with an ordinary voice at that time, and how far apart is the bathroom and the kitchen? Odarina still didn't believe it. Oh, you don't know this. I am born with sensitive hearing. Lin Ziyan had no choice but to show them some of his skills. If you don't believe it, you can try it. How to try? Oda Michiko stared at him closely and asked. You ask Reina to go outside and say a word. I'll listen here with you. I'll repeat that sentence when Reina comes back. Okay, Reina, please go out and stay away. Michiko Oda directed Oda. Reina. Lin Ziyan closed his eyes and stayed in place, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Would you like to go further? It's useless for you to leave this room. Oda. Reina came back soon. What did Reina say? Michiko Oda asked, looking at Lin Ziyan. She. Lin Ziyan also looked at Oda. Reina with confusion. She didn't say anything. Reina, what did you say? Oda. Michiko looked at Oda. Reina in surprise. Oni-chan is right, I didn't say anything. Oda. Reina admitted directly, she really didn't say anything. Then how to prove it? No need to prove it anymore, I believe Oni-chan. You don't have to believe it. I didn't peek in the first place. Think about what I just said. Lin Ziyan didn't want to say anything else and left directly. Alas, Michiko Oda wanted to stop him, but didn't know what to say. Seeing Oda Michiko's worried look, Oda. Reina stepped forward and comforted her. Mom, don't worry, Oni-chan really didn't peek at our shower, I believe him. Alas, Michiko Oda sighed, I also know that Kingtian-kun is not that kind of person. You can't tell. In his eyes, neither of us may be as important as that cat. To be able to live in this society for so long without any incident, Michiko Oda relied on intuition. She always felt that Lin Ziyan did not pay attention to them and treated them as if they were just a routine, and his eyes did not change. Mom, did you forget? Oni-chan can hear it, Oda. Reina reminded Oda Michiko. Just listen if you hear it. We didn't say anything bad about him. Michiko Oda looked exhausted. Let's go to bed early. We have to go to school tomorrow. Lin Ziyan came to the study room, and the novel he promised to the netizen was still being written. But he forgot about it after turning on the computer. It was normal for things like manuscripts to take a few days to finish. There was a knock on the door. Wake up, Oni-chan. I got it. Lin Ziyan didn't stay in bed this time because he still had to go to class. Lin Ziyan opened the door and went out, and saw Oda. Reina dressed up. Good morning, Reina. Oni-chan can't be so lazy. Oda. Reina smiled mischievously at Lin Ziyan. Okay, I'm going to wash up. Lin Ziyan waved his hand feebly and sent Oda. Reina away. The three of them were sitting in the dining room having breakfast. Reina, please use my school bag later. It's on top of the shoe cabinet. Many schools in Neon want to unify this kind of school bag, and naturally Oda. Reina's old school bag can no longer be used. What about you, Oni-chan? I don't use a school bag, and I don't bring books home. Lin Ziyan said confidently, but don't imitate me. I have no hope, but you are different. If you don't study hard, no one can help you. Reina knows that I will definitely study hard. Oda. Reina is also full of confidence. After breakfast, Lin Ziyan took Oda. Reina out. It would be better to take her to get acquainted with her early. Then Reina should be careful at school. Michiko Oda warned at the door. I know. If anything happens, I'll go find Oni-chan. Don't worry, I'm at school too. Be careful along the way. Michiko Oda bowed slightly to the two of them. The two of them were walking on the road, and Lin Ziyan vaccinated Oda. Reina in advance. Reina, My reputation in school may not be very good, so just don't worry about it. Huh? Why? It's probably because of the fight. Lin Zian originally didn't want to tell her because it was too shameful, but thinking that his name in school would be known to Lingna sooner or later, he just said it directly. Is Oni-chan a bad boy? Odarina asked curiously. This matter will start with Hasakawa-san. When school starts. Lin Zian briefly told her what happened that day. Why are you pretending to fall down, Oni-chan? You don't understand this. Lin Zian told her his theory again. But Reina thinks it's stupid to do this. Anyway, just remember to ignore what they say, you know. Lin Zian didn't want to say too much nonsense. Oh, Odarina nodded obediently. The two of them chatted and then arrived at the school gate. Because they arrived early, the disciplinary committee members on duty had not arrived yet, so no one stopped them. Originally, Lin Zian thought he would be in trouble for Odarina's lack of school uniform, but better not to use it now. Lin Zian took her in for a walk and took her to the entrance of the middle school, but now he couldn't get in. I'll wait for you here after school. Oni-chan. What's the matter? Lin Zian was stopped just as he was about to leave. Can I go find Oni-chan for lunch at noon? Lin Zian glanced at Odarina and nodded. You can find me in the cafeteria then. For some reason, Lin Zian did not let Oda Michiko prepare his lunch box, which means Reina brought her own. Watching Lin Zian go away, Odarina turned around and looked at the teaching building in front of her, took a deep breath and walked in. Now she had to rely on herself. Lin Zian was not worried about Odarina at all. After all, he had made all the preparations and nothing serious would happen. Lin Zian always slacked off in class, and the morning class was over in a flash. Lin Zian was going to eat, but he had to wait for someone first. Lin Zian did not wait long at the door, and Yotsuki Hideki came over. This is for today. Yotsuki Hideki handed the lunch box to Lin Zian. Let's go to the cafeteria. Okay. The two walked to the cafeteria together. After finding a seat, Yotsuki Hideki went to get his meal, leaving Lin Zian alone to occupy the seat. Lin Zian did not eat first, but put the lunch box aside and played with his mobile phone, in fact, to tell Odarina his location so that she would not find it. Oni-chan, Odarina's voice came from behind Lin Zian. Come on, sit down. Lin Zian moved to the side a little and made room for a seat. Hey. How come Oni-chan has a lunch box? Odarina saw the lunch box in front of the table as soon as she sat down, and a sense of crisis emerged. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 112. Oh. You're talking about this? Lin Zian followed Odarina's gaze and saw the lunch box in front of him. This was given to me by someone else. Who is it? Then, that's that person. Lin Zian pointed at Hideki Zio, who was walking towards them. Hideki Yosuke was still holding the tray in one hand and waving to him with the other. Wow! What a beautiful person! Is this Oni-chan's girlfriend? While Odarina was in a daze, Yotsuki Hideki was already sitting opposite. Kingtian-san, who is this? Hideki Yotsuki asked Lin Zian with a smile. You can think of her as my sister. She just transferred in today. Lin Zian reached out and touched Odarina's head. Wake up. Ah, Odarina came back to her senses, suddenly hugged Lin Zian's arm, and said with a serious expression, Oni-chan is mine, and I will not give him to you. What are you talking about? He is a man. Lin Zian was a little helpless. Why do some people always think that he and Hideki Yotsuki have problems? It turns out Oni-chan likes boys, no wonder. Odarina looked desperate. It feels like the world is falling apart. Don't think nonsense, my sexual orientation is normal, and he and I are just ordinary friends. Lin Zian interrupted Odarina. Aoda-san, your sister is so funny. Yotsuki Hideki, who was sitting opposite, seemed to be watching a joke. His name is Yotsuki Hideki. His family is quite rich. When you can't find me at school, you can go to him for help. Lin Zion saw him smiling so happily and found something to do for him first. Hello, my name is Yotsuki Hideki. Just like your brother said, if you need anything, you can come to me in Class E, first grade. I am Oda Reina. Oda Reina nodded carefully. It seems that I misunderstood something. Then why did you give bento Oni-chan? Oda Reina still didn't understand. Let me explain it to Sister Rina, otherwise our Oni-chan will suffer. Hideki Yotsuki smiled and imitated Oda Reina's accent. Get out. You're so disgusting. Yotsuki even felt it better than Rina. Oda said, but the problem was that he was a man. Again, he is a man. Yotsuki Hideki ignored Lin Zion and told Oda Rina about the matter. It was him who gave Lin Zion the lunchbox his sister gave him, while he went to the dining hall by himself. Lin Zion's role in this process is similar to that of a trash can. Wouldn't it be nice to have a sister to help you make lunch? Oda Rina didn't understand why Yotsuki Hideki did this. You don't understand this. Yotsuki Hideki's sisters wanted to control everything about him, leaving him with no sense of security at all. They often forced him to do things he didn't like to do. And he didn't dare to resist, so he could only be a little willful in the school, a place where he could escape from them. Then Oni-chan, eat this one made by mom, and I'll eat that one. Oda Rina secretly exchanged the lunch boxes for the two of them. Okay. Lin Zion smiled helplessly. He had no problem. He just had to eat. Oda Rina opened the lid of the lunch box, and her face turned green immediately. There was a piece of meat pie in the shape of a bear, rice balls sprinkled with crushed seaweed, broccoli cut into almost the same shape, and meatballs skewered with bamboo skewers. This was clearly a couple's bento. Although she had never eaten it, she had heard of it under the influence of the environment. Lin Zion opened Oda Rina's lunchbox. It's half rice, half fish, and no other dishes. Wow! What did your mother do? Is there no food at home? Lin Zion was a little dissatisfied. Lin Zion now wants to ask Michiko Oda. This is your daughter, is this necessary? No, Rina Oda forgot that this was a nutritious meal prepared for her by Michiko Oda. This is what I requested. I remember you said you don't like fish. Why is that? That. Oda Rina couldn't say it, especially when Hideki Yotsuki was present. Forget it, let's talk about this later. Lin Zion also saw that she seemed to have something to hide, so there was no need to embarrass her. Okay Kingtian-san, let's eat. Hideki Yotsuki placed a piece of meat in front of him on Lin Zion's rice. Eat, Oni-chan. Oda Rina saw this and took a few pieces of broccoli over. Okay, it's nothing. Why are you so nervous? After the meal, Hideki Yotsuki became acquainted with Oda Rina, and I have to say that he is very good at dealing with girls. Rina-chan, which one do you want? Hideki Yotsuki bought 3 bottles of drinks and put them on the table. I don't know what kind of drink you like, so you can choose first. Oda Rina glanced at Lin Zion. Take it, this guy has plenty of money, no need to be polite to him. Lin Zion often invited him, so there was no need to worry about such small things. Thank you, senior. After getting the same response from Lin Zion, Oda Rina took a can of juice. Lin Zion also grabbed a bottle of green tea, while Hideki Yotsuki still drank his Fat House Happy water. Ah! This tastes better. Hideki Yotsuki took a deep sip and let out a long sigh. They had just finished eating and were not in a hurry to go back, so the 3 of them started chatting. Rina-chan, is there any club you want to join? Yotsuki Hideki asked. If you want to understand a person, it is easiest to start with his hobbies. No, I want to go home and study. Oda Rina will definitely not join the club, because once she joins, she will definitely be dragged down by club activities, and then she can't go home with Lin Zion. And she has some bad experiences with club activities. Is that so? I thought Reina would find some clubs to play, but it turns out that you and Qingtian are in the homecoming club. Yotsuki Hideki felt a little regretful, and originally wanted to take her to the archery club to play. Reina is not as rich as you, so of course she has to study hard. Lin Zion complained about Yotsuki Hideki. He also found out by accident a few days ago that his sister gave him 500,000 yen pocket money a month. Who would believe that his family has no minds? When I first came here, my entire net worth was only 1 million yen. The gap between people is really too big. Unhappy, really unhappy. Okay, it's getting late, let's go back to the classroom. Seeing that the time was almost up, Lin Zion packed up and prepared to leave. Unai-chan, let me do it. Oda Reina tried to grab Lin Zion's lunchbox, but she certainly failed. Okay, wash your own, and return the lunchbox to him. Oh. I'm really envious, you thoughtful little cotton-padded jacket, Yotsuki Hideki joked beside him. Lin Zion also smiled after hearing this. Then aren't your three sisters cotton-padded quilts? Oh, you doubtdo. Don't come on, if you don't say this, we are still friends. Yotsuki Hideki also smiled bitterly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 113. The two of them sent Oda Reina to junior high school, and then went back to the classroom. Yes. Where is your home? Yotsuki Hideki remembered the conversation between Lin Zion and Oda Reina just now. The two went home together, and suddenly wanted to know where his home was. Why are you asking this? Lin Zion was a little surprised. Why did he talk about this? Well, I want to go to your house to play on Saturday and Sunday. Yotsuki Hideki was a little embarrassed and shy. After listening to his words, Lin Zion thought about it. You probably don't want to go to my house to play, you want to avoid your sister. He, almost. Yotsuki Hideki was exposed and asked more directly, can I? Sure, I just bought a few games and haven't played them yet, so we can play together then. Lin Zion didn't care. Brother, from today on you are my brother. No, you are my brother-in-law. Yotsuki Hideki was too strictly disciplined by his sisters, and he had never even touched the game controller. He always envied other children who could play games. Get lost, leave your three sisters to yourself and enjoy them slowly, I can't stand it. Lin Zion refused outright. He had already known his three sisters from Yotsuki Hideki's words, and ordinary people couldn't play with them at all. Hey, let's not talk about them. What's the matter with Reina-chan? I haven't heard that you have a sister before, and it's a different surname. Yotsuki Hideki was annoyed when he heard about his sister, so he simply pulled Oda Reina out. It's hard to say, you just need to know about single-parent families and school bullying, and you can ask about the rest later. Lin Zion didn't want to talk too much about Reina's miserable life, it was meaningless. If you see Reina in trouble, help her if you can. Don't worry, your sister is my sister, I will definitely help her if she has any problems. Yotsuki Hideki didn't expect that the cheerful and cute little girl just now had experienced so many things, and judging from Lin Zion's situation, she was probably just picking the lightest things to say. Okay, just have this intention. Lin Zion never thought of asking others to give unconditionally, but just hoped that his face would still be useful. We're here. I'll go first. Yotsuki Hideki patted Lin Zion on the shoulder and walked straight over. Lin Zion stopped at the door of Class B. Lin Zion gently pushed the door open. At this time, everyone was lying on the table for lunch. Although these silly classmates had a bad relationship with him, it would be bad if he disturbed others. This is a quality issue. But the slight sound of his door opening still woke up Hasakawa Ryo. Hasakawa Ryo looked up and then lay back down again. Why did Ching-tien come back at this time? Hasakawa Ryo was a little irritated because her parents did not return to their hometown after attending the banquet, but stayed in Tokyo, so she did not dare to look for Lin Zion and could only say a few words on the phone. She now felt that Lin Zion's favorability towards her plummeted. Every time she saw Yotsuki Hideki and Lin Ziyan going to eat, she felt sorry for herself. Obviously I came first. Lin Ziyan knew nothing about these, but he didn't feel anything. Friends can't always be around you. This is normal. After school, Lin Ziyan waited for a while at the entrance of the junior high school, but did not see Odarina come out. After waiting for a while, no one came out. Lin Ziyan frowned. The class would not be delayed for so long, would it be like what happened to me when I just entered school? Lin Ziyan quickly called Miho Miyamoto. It's been so long since school, why hasn't Rina come out yet? Don't worry, Rina is here with me. Miho Miyamoto just finished talking about Rina. Oda's voice came from the phone. Ani-chan, Rina is fine. What's going on? We're out, let's talk at the door. Lin Ziyan put the phone back, wondering what happened to Rina. Ani-chan, Odarina ran from a distance and rushed towards Lin Ziyan. Are you okay? Lin Ziyan caught her and asked. It's okay, Mr. Miyasuno has already solved it. When Miyasuno Miho walked in, Lin Ziyan asked again. It turned out that it was Rina Oda's school uniform problem that was caught by the discipline committee. They didn't know that Rina had just transferred here, so they took Rina Oda away. Miyasuno Miho rushed to get her after knowing it. Where are those teachers? Where is the discipline committee of the class? Lin Ziyan keenly felt that something was wrong. Someone wanted to mess with Rina Oda? No, it's just her first day here today. Where did the teachers and students come from after school? Miyasuno Miho rolled her eyes at Lin Ziyan. It's better this way. Lin Ziyan could only hope that he was too sensitive. Don't worry, I've already told them. They know that Rina has just transferred here. They won't bother her about the school uniform within a week, but it's better to prepare the school uniform quickly. Thank you, Mr. Miyasuno, I'm already doing it. Lin Ziyan nodded slightly. Although it wouldn't be a big deal if she didn't care about it, it was just that Rina might come out later, but she still helped, so she naturally had to thank him. Thank you, Mr. Miyasu. Odarina turned to thank Miyasu Miho. It's okay, it's my negligence that caused this. Miyasu Miho half squatted down and touched Odarina's head, smiling. This made Lin Ziyan uncomfortable. She ignored him when he thanked her, but Odarina thanked him by touching her head and smiling. Different treatment, I protest. Unfortunately, no one paid attention to him. Of course, this was just a thought. Lin Ziyan took Odarina along the road by the river and walked back slowly. Oni-chan, did Reina bother you again? Odarina was a little depressed. She knew that Lin Ziyan hated trouble the most, and she had made him wait for so long. No, but don't tell your mother about this, so that she won't worry again. Lin Ziyan didn't feel anything. He still had some patience. I know, Reina won't tell mom. Do you want me to help you with your school bag? Lin Ziyan reached out to Odarina. No, I can do it myself. Odarina took a step away and avoided his hand. I said you don't need to bring so many books home. Do your homework if you can, and don't do it if you can't. Sleep is important. Lin Ziyan spread his hands proudly. I don't have any homework. But I heard from Senior Yotsuki that you only ranked 156th in this monthly exam, and Senior Yotsuki ranked 65th at noon. Odarina added Yotsuki Hideki as a friend, and I found out when chatting. Only the top 20 in the Aoyama Academy exam are announced, and the rest are known only by myself. Lin Ziyan remembered that I seemed to have really told him how many places I took the exam. I didn't expect to be ridiculed. You don't understand this, the ordinary is the truth. Lin Ziyan could only fool around. These days, the exams have almost consumed my saved drafts, and I have to write again. My retirement life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 114. Chapter 121. By the way, you haven't told me why today's lunch is like that. Lin Ziyan suddenly remembered the lunch at noon. That's because I've gained weight recently. Rina Oda glanced at Linzian secretly, and my mother said that eating fish will make you grow bigger. You're kidding, Linzian laughed. What did you eat before? What have you eaten recently? It's strange that you're not fat. Oh, Oda. Rina found that Linzian didn't understand her words at all, so she answered perfunctorily. The journey is not long and is completed quickly. Mom, we are back. Oda. Rina started shouting as soon as she entered the door of the hospital. When she reached the door, Oda Michiko opened the door, and Oda Rina ran into her arms. Come in first. Michiko. Oda dragged Oda Rina away and let Linzian come in. Mom, I met many classmates today. Oda Rina looked very excited in front of her mother. I know, Michiko. Oda smiled and took off her school bag. Did Rina listen to the teacher's lecture today? Yes, I heard Unii-chan say everything the teacher said, and I acted out the teacher's questions. Oda Rina said, a little show off. Okay, go wash your hands. I made some snacks. Michiko. Oda glanced at Linzian in the living room and walked into the kitchen. Unii-chan. Mom made some snacks. Oh. I want to try this. Linzian knew that she had worked in a pastry shop before, so her skills should be good. Oda Rina couldn't wait any longer and ran to the kitchen to eat. When Michiko Oda brought it out, it was a pink snack wrapped in a leaf. What is this? Linzian asked curiously, having never studied the snacks in Neon. This is a cherry cake. Yoshitomo Oda skillfully slapped away Rina Oda's hand that wanted to eat it secretly. It is made of glutinous rice, with red bean filling inside. The leaves on the outside are the leaves of the cherry blossom tree. I picked them from the back. Michiko Oda placed the cherry cake in front of Linzian. This one is a bit sweet. I'll make some tea. It won't be so boring if you eat it with the tea. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands. Linzian dragged Oda Rina away without saying a word. You have to wash your hands too. Unii-chan, let me go, I've already washed it. Oda Rina wanted to struggle, but Linzian picked her up with one hand. Ha ha ha. Follow me and wash your hands. You can't leave. Of course I know you washed it, but if I don't take you there, there will be nothing left. Mom, Unii-chan is bullying me. Oda Rina asked Oda Michiko for help. Oda Yoshitomo watched the two people interact, and the corners of his mouth turned up unconsciously. From time to time, he put down the tea set in his hand, hiding his face and smiling. Linzian and Oda Rina shared the plate of cherry cakes. There were actually 6 of them, and Linzian only ate 2. Linzian looked at Rina Oda, who was lying on the sofa after eating, and teased her, oh. How much did our Rina eat today? Did you promise to lose weight? Oh, Oda Rina then remembered that there was also the matter of losing weight. It's all Unii-chan's fault. Why do you blame me? Linzian put the teacup down and asked with a smile. Oda Rina rolled her eyes, crawled over from the sofa next to her, rested her head on Linzian's lap, and looked at him. It's all because Unii-chan's cooking is so delicious. Does today's pastry taste good? Tasty. Are you still losing weight? Reduce. Then do you still want to eat pastries? Eat, don't eat. I'll ask your mother to make pastries tomorrow. Linzian looked at Oda Rina's tangled face and laughed directly. Next to her, Michiko Oda also smiled. Losing weight is not like this. Dieting is not effective, and it is easy to rebound. You are in the growth period now. If you don't eat, you won't grow big. You can just exercise more in the future. Linzian took the opportunity to educate her and help her. She establishes the correct concept of weight loss. Then can I still have snacks tomorrow? Oda Rina got up from him. Ha ha ha. ×2. Linzian and Michiko Oda both laughed. After eating snacks, Linzian went back to the study on the second floor, while Oda Rina was doing homework. I promised that the new book of the shady netizens is about to start, and I just have some inspiration. I will touch on the beginning to comfort, perfunctory, them. As for the theme, I will just write about the customs here in Neon. If I don't write a long novel, I will write short stories one after another, and finally form a book. He is not planning to send it out, and will only post it on the official account. After all, the domestic novel environment is average now, and he is not in the mood to make money. Everything was conceived, but after turning on the computer, he didn't want to write anymore because someone was looking for him. Zion, where are you in Neon? Lin Zion looked at the chat window. His name was Lu Quanqing. He grew up in the same compound as him. He was his childhood friend and best friend. His family had some strength because of his grandfather. His grandfather had 3 sons, but his father jumped out. Made a name for himself, while his 2 uncles remained in the system. As for his strength, you can tell from the fact that his boy is known as Lu Quanqing in the country. However, Lin Zion knew that this boy was timid and a lazy dog. Of course, others didn't know that, but he was very serious in front of outsiders. What happened in Tokyo? Lin Zion replied instantly as soon as he sent it. I want to go and play in Neon. When are you free? Will your dad let you out? Just find a reason when the time comes, and you're there, aren't you? Don't use me as a shield. What will I do if my uncle comes looking for me? Don't worry, I've arranged it. How dare you say that, when didn't I help you clean up your mess? I've arranged it for my brother. No, you don't have to go to class, I still have to go, I don't have time. The 2 chatted for a while, and finally reached a consensus that as long as he can get his father's consent, he will take him to Neon to play. Another trouble, but it shouldn't be past. Lin Zion knows how strict his father is with him. We'll talk about it later. Lin Zion turned off the computer. He didn't want to write today. He had no inspiration, so he postponed it for another day. Going downstairs, Oda Michiko saw that Lin Zion seemed to be a little bit off, and asked, "What's wrong with Qingtian?" Nothing. Lin Zion waved his hand, walked past her, picked up 2 cans of fish in the corner, and weakly called Ziobai down. Ziobai, come down to eat. Meow. Ziobai was very dissatisfied when he saw the canned food. He didn't understand before, but now. Eat it for now. I'll give you a snack tomorrow. Lin Zion patted Ziobai's body. No, you're so fat. Reduce your snack tomorrow. Meow. Ziobai grabbed and hit Lin Zion's hand that was touching it. I'm not saying it, I'm really fat. Lin Zion was crazy and wanted to die. It's 300,000 words now. I'm going to put it on the shelves. I don't know how many people will read it. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 115. Lin Zion's life was very comfortable in the next few days. Oda Michiko cleaned up the house. He didn't have to do anything when he got home every day. He would tease Odarina and play with Ziobai when he was free. He was just like a modern young man, with someone to serve him everything. Rina. Lin Zion looked at Odarina, who was doing homework. He felt that some things had to be solved and there was no point in dragging them on. What's the matter? Is there anything wrong, Ani-chan? Odarina put down the pen in her hand and looked at Lin Zion with some confusion. Lin Zion usually didn't disturb her when she was doing homework. In Lin Zion's words, he doesn't want to study, so he can't disturb others from studying. So she felt it was very abnormal. Have you adapted to the life in Aoyama Academy these days? Lin Zion was a little hesitant when he said this, because Odarina didn't seem to remember that incident. Am I overthinking? Of course it's okay with Ani-chan here. Odarina looked at Lin Zion, who was obviously testing her, and was a little curious. She shouldn't have done anything. Then when are you going to meet Sayorioko? Lin Zion asked directly when he saw her like that. Odarina didn't understand why Lin Zion suddenly mentioned this person. Why do you want to meet her? I've already won. Lin Zion has been observing Odarina's expression, trying to figure out her heart. Yes. You won, but she doesn't know. You should stop her naive thoughts. Oni-chan Rina doesn't want to see her. Odarina walked over to sit next to Linzian. Are you scared? Odarina lowered her head. Linzian couldn't see her facial expression, but he guessed it. After all, nightmares are not so easily defeated. Odarina did not answer him. Linzian continued, you will always be a loser like this, and you will never be able to raise your head in front of her. I'm not afraid. It's just. Tell me, what are you afraid of? Linzian interrupted her forcibly, and his tone might be a little excited, which also startled Oda Michiko in the kitchen. What's the matter? Oda Michiko, wearing an apron, hurried out of the kitchen and looked at the two people. It's okay, I have something to talk to Reina. Linzian's tone returned to calm, but it was a little scary. Such Linzian made Oda Michiko feel more frightened. She hurried to Oda Reina. Did Reina do something to make Xing Tianjun angry? I apologize on her behalf. The life of the past few days made her know that Linzian was a salted fish. He would never be like this if nothing happened. Based on her understanding of her daughter, it was probably Reina who got into trouble again. No, Linzian waved his hand, she should apologize to herself, not me. Linzian's words made Oda Michiko confused. What is this? Think about it and then come to me. Linzian got up and went upstairs. She has to be willing to do this, she can't be forced. Oda Michiko saw Linzian walking away, and then she dared to ask Oda Reina. What's going on? Why is Xing Tian like this? It's okay, I'm bothering Oni-chan again. Oda Reina didn't want her mother to worry, so she didn't tell her what happened just now. After asking, she didn't get any useful information, and then Oda Michiko returned to the kitchen. Oda Reina didn't do her homework, and sat on the sofa in a daze. I really don't want to bother Oni-chan anymore. Linzian was playing with the cat in the bedroom. His bedroom really only had a bed and a two-layer bedside table, not to mention a table, there was not even an extra chair. With a click, the bedroom door was opened. Linzian looked at Oda Reina, who walked in with her head down, and said nothing. Oni-chan, Oda Reina raised her head, the tangle on her face flashed away, and then she said firmly, I want to see her, I will prove to you that I, Oda Reina, have won. Really? Linzian's tone was a little sarcastic, but you are still afraid. Linzian put Ziobai on his thigh aside, tell me, what are you afraid of? Facing Linzian's step-by-step pressure, Oda Reina's body trembled slightly, and she wanted to speak several times, but in the end she was speechless. Linzian also felt that it was almost time, so he called her over and asked her to sit next to him. I know what you are afraid of. No matter what you do, you can't deny the fact that you are from a single-parent family. You also heard the conversation I had with Sayorioko that day. She was right that you. Linzian's face revealed a weird smile, no father. When Linzian talked to Sayorioko that day, he was talking to Oda Reina on the voice, which means that she knew what Sayorioko and Linzian had said. It's a bit funny to think about it. When Sayorioko said that Oda Reina didn't have a father, her excitement and boasting made Linzian feel incredible. After acting for so long, her true nature was exposed in one sentence. Sayorioko is not a qualified actor after all. Although Linzian never believed her from beginning to end. Oda Reina next to her didn't say anything, but just buried her head lower. Linzian added fuel to the fire. You are inferior to your origin, inferior to your family. Linzian suddenly pushed Oda Reina to the bed and pointed at her. You stepped on yourself. You have no right to stand up. Oda Reina was very abnormal. She didn't cry or make a fuss. She was just very calm, as if the person Linzian said was not her. I don't have the right to choose, Oda Reina, who was originally like a rag doll, roared, I don't have the right to choose at all. Whether it's birth or other things, I can only endure silently. Silently, endure. Do you really have no right to choose? Lin Zian pulled Odarena up, held her shoulders with both hands, and looked into her eyes. You chose me, just like I chose you. No one's life can be perfect, even me. You don't have a father, but you have a mother who loves you. You are like those who see other children buy a toy, and you also want to buy it, but you can't buy it for some reason, and you deny yourself because of this. Have you ever thought seriously, is that toy really that important? Father, toy, think. Have you ever thought that if your father is a person who likes to beat your mother, would you still want him to exist? You have seen those news, do you want your mother to be like this? Lin Zian is like a devil, tempting Odarena step by step. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 116. You have lived with your mother for 14 years. Think about it. Is your life really so unbearable? If Sayorioko hadn't told you that you were from a single-parent family, you would still be in school now, instead of waiting for me to come. Lin Zian saw that Odarena's expression had begun to change. Do you really need a toy that is dispensable in the first place? Without him, can you and Michiko not survive? If you step on yourself, don't expect others to respect you. Ah, Odarena suddenly burst into tears, and tears slid down her face like they were free. Lin Zian saw this and hugged Odarena in his arms. Cry, you will grow up after crying. Lin Zian knew that she couldn't stop for a while, so he talked to himself. You know what? Actually, I hate your mother's way of treating you. She only cares about your body, not your mind. You can say that she is mostly responsible for your becoming like this. Lin Zian suddenly sighed, she can't help it. For you, she is so busy that she almost wants to split herself in two. How can she have time to pay attention to your mind? This is life, we all have difficulties. Downy Odarena raised her head from his arms and looked at him. Why did you become a little cat? Lin Zian smiled and wiped the tears from her face with his hand. Isn't life good now? You have a mother who loves you and a brother like me. You are not as bad as you think. Really, tears in Odarena's eyes were about to overflow again. What? Am I not as good as a toy in your eyes? Lin Zian pretended to be angry. No, Odarena exclaimed, burying her head in Lin Zian's arms again, Ani-I-chan is the best. That's enough, you lost a toy that you didn't have in the first place, and you got a brother like me, so why aren't you a little happier? Reina is very happy. I've never been so happy. Although Odarena said this, she cried even harder. Lin Zian didn't say anything else, just looked at her silently. Sure enough, he guessed it right. Odarena's previous liveliness and cheerfulness were all pretended, just to please him and make Oda Michiko feel at ease. Lin Zian and Odarena dawdled for almost an hour before returning to the first floor. He asked Odarena to wash her face by herself, otherwise her mother would see it and something would happen again. He went to the kitchen and looked at Oda Michiko, who was busy, and asked, why hasn't it been done for so long? Almost, this. Oda Michiko seemed to be trying to suppress something, and didn't look back at him. Because if she looked back, Lin Zian would see her crying. She was relieved when Lin Zian left the kitchen. Lin Zian actually knew that she was eavesdropping just now, and some of his words were meant for her, so he didn't expose her. Lin Zian lay on the sofa, wondering what he was after. He didn't know until he saw the smile on Odarena's face when she came out of the bathroom. He was after peace of mind. The three of them had a very happy meal. It was the first time that Lin Zian saw Odarena's real smile from the heart, no longer the kind of smile with a hint of flattery. He also laughed because he saw her growth and that innocent smile. Lin Zian felt the powerful infectiousness of emotions. When the last bit of estrangement disappeared, this was a real home, a home he pursued. But after finishing the meal and packing up, Oda Michiko disappeared. Lin Zian and Oda Reina knew that she was on the second floor, but neither of them went up to disturb her. She is not an Iron Man, she needs to vent. After a while, when the crying gradually subsided, Lin Zian stopped Oda Reina and went upstairs alone. It seems that there is another person with psychological problems. Can I come in? Lin Zian knocked on the door and asked. Wait a minute. Oda Michiko's voice sounded a little panicked. After a while, Oda Michiko opened the door. Are you okay? Lin Zian looked at her face, his eyes were red, and he was sobbing unconsciously. Please come in. Oda Michiko avoided his eyes and opened the door. Lin Zian walked in without hesitation and sat on the ground casually. He didn't say anything, just looked at Oda Michiko. Oda Michiko couldn't stand being looked at by him, so she asked actively. Why is Kingtian-kun wet? Oh. You mean here? Lin Zian pulled the front of his clothes. This is because Reina poured water on it and wet it. How could Reina do that? Kingtian-kun is joking. Lin Zian saw that she didn't want to tell the truth yet, so he didn't rush. Anyway, he had plenty of time. Oda Michiko couldn't stand Lin Zian's eyes and asked. Am I a competent mother? Lin Zian saw her speak and smiled and replied, it's useless to ask me this. You should ask Reina, the person involved. But. Don't say but, Lin Zian interrupted her, my opinion has no reference value at all. You and Reina are mother and daughter. Lin Zian saw that she couldn't react and asked, do you think Reina is a qualified daughter? Of course. Stop, Lin Zian stretched out his hand to signal her to stop, you don't have to say it, and it's useless to tell me. This is a matter between you two mothers and daughters. After being interrupted by Lin Zian again and again, Michiko Oda also seemed a little impatient. Do you want to get Reina's approval? Yes, Michiko Oda's expression was serious and her eyes were firm, like those who were martyred for the truth. Then you wait until tomorrow, and then you will know whether you are a qualified mother or not. Lin Zian didn't finish his words, now you go and take a bath with Reina. Of course, if you also want to pour water, I don't care, anyway, this is all I need. After saying that, Lin Zian turned around and went out, not caring about Michiko Oda. Damn. Why can't I control my mouth? I almost exploded. After Lin Zian went out, he was scared for a while, and when Michiko Oda came down, he didn't dare to look at her. Lying on the bed, Lin Zian thought about what happened today and found that he had done a lot of things wrong, but these were all in the past, so he should go to bed obediently now. Lin Zian fell asleep slowly until he was woken up by Reina Oden knocking on the door in the morning. Wake up! Ani-chan. Got it. Lin Zian took out his phone from the bedside table and checked the time. Why did you come to call him so early? Lin Zian walked over and opened the door, and saw that Oda Reina was already dressed. This school uniform arrived the day before yesterday, and she was put on today. Why are you here so early today? Oda Reina did not answer his question, but turned around in place. Ani-chan. Do I look good? It's so real. I just said that I would put it on the shelf, and the collection was immediately lost. Can't I keep it for a few more days? I haven't put it on the shelf yet. My retirement life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 117. Lin Zian looked at it and saw that she was wearing spring clothes now, just a long-sleeved and black pleated skirt. The skirt was 5 centimeters above the knees, and her legs were wrapped in white stockings. Cute and a little naughty. Speaking of which, he chose these stockings, and Oda Reina's figure is suitable for white stockings. Nice. Lin Zian didn't know what to say, so why did he wake up so early just for this matter? Humph. Ani-chan, you idiot. Lin Xian's perfunctory attitude made Oda Reina a little angry. Obviously, she got up so early to dress up so that he could see her perfect self at first sight when he got up. But Lin Xian's attitude was too casual, just like usual. Why is our gentle and lovely Lin angry again? Lin Xian squatted down with a smile and looked at her. I'm not angry. Oda Reina turned away. Haha, Lin Xian reached out and touched her hair. Ling Nei is very cute today. Really? Of course, I lied to you when. Oda Reina is fine, but Oda Michiko has some problems and has been absent-minded all day long. Lin Xian is not in a hurry to see her. This matter will be solved today. These days, Oda Reina eats the bento brought by Hideki Yotsuki, while Lin Xian eats the bento made by Oda Michiko. But Rina Oda didn't exchange lunch boxes with him at noon today, which was strange. Therefore, Yotsuki Hideki frequently looked sideways and looked at the two people. He thought there was a conflict between the two people. But looking at the interaction between the two of them, they were talking and laughing. I didn't understand, I really didn't understand. Hideki Yotsuki shook his head. Oda Rina was no different from usual, but she was not as cautious as before, but had a sense of casualness. Two people were walking down the street. They were going home from the main road today. Are you ready? I'll call Ryoko Seigo over later. Yeah. I'll make it clear to her. No, Lin Xian shook his head. What you have to do is expose her true face. Rina knows. Lin Xian didn't care how Oda Reina would face Ryoko Saga later, because he was there. Before he got home, Lin Xian took out his mobile phone and called Ryoko Sagaya. This was what he asked her for last time. Hey. Who are you? A voice came from the phone. It's me, Shigeki Aoda. I don't think I know you, do I? I am Reina's neighbor. I convinced her that she should go to school. Hey. Really? Yes. Just go to her house to find her. Lin Xian was hung up before he finished speaking. Oda Reina looked at him with a depressed look on his face and snickered beside him. Stop laughing. Lin Xian was also speechless. Ryoko Sagaya didn't even remember him. How many days had it passed? Ani-chan, don't mess up my hair. Who told you to laugh at me? Haha. Lin Xian was not in a hurry, and slowly went home while teasing Oda Reina. When the two returned home, Lin Xian asked Oda Michiko and took the key next to her. Then she went over with Oda Reina, who had changed her clothes. Michiko Oda didn't know what the two of them were doing. The landlord never came to ask her for the key, so she didn't lose it. Lin Xian opened the door. He didn't let Michiko Oda take these things over at first, so the things inside were still the same. Lin Xian came to the living room and was chatting with Oda Reina. When asked about the matter between her and Saga Ryoko, she could tell it without reservation. Just bring her to the living room later. Lin Xian didn't want to push Oda Reina out, she could just do some things by herself. Also, having Reina Oda come here will certainly not relieve her anger, so it would be better to get started on it yourself and feel refreshed. The two didn't wait long before there was a loud knock on the door. Reina, open the door quickly, I'm Ryoko. Lin Xian gave Oda Reina a wink and asked her to open the door. The door opened and Oda Reina appeared. This was the first time Ryoko Saga saw Oda Reina after such a long time. Her figure had not changed much, but her temperament was far different from the cautious and timid one before, but she didn't care about it. Based on her understanding of Oda Reina, if she is willing to listen to her, then she will definitely succeed through hard work. Unexpectedly, that fool actually convinced Oda Reina. Please come in. Oda Reina's tone was a little too calm, and after speaking, she turned and left. Hey, Ryoko Saga quickly followed, wanting to stop Oda Reina. The room was so big, Ryoko Sagaya was taken to the living room by Oda Reina as soon as she took 2 steps. When Ryoko Sagaya saw Lin Xian, her expression changed, but when she saw Reina Oda sitting obediently next to him, a smile suddenly appeared on her face. Linzian watched her face change several times, and couldn't help but sigh that she was still too young, and her emotions and anger were superficial. "Nissan, why are you here? Why can't I be here?" "No. I mean Nissan." "Okay," Linzian interrupted her, "you came here today to let Lina go to school, right?" Yes, Sagali Ryoko didn't know what Linzian was doing, but she was still lucky. What if Reina really wants to go back to school? Then please convince her, I'm just listening. Linzian handed the stage to her to see what she could say. "Looking forward to your performance." Reina, after hearing Linzian's words, Saya Ryoko thought of Oda Reina, but Linzian was like a mountain that stood between them. Saya Ryoko just moved her hands and feet and retracted them. "Reina, I'm sorry for you. Please forgive my mistakes. I really didn't mean to tell you about your family situation." Saya Ryoko still has some acting skills. At least her expression is in place, which is much better than some facial paralysis in China. Saya Ryoko waited for a while, and seeing that Oda Reina did not respond to her, she continued, "Let's go back to school together, just like before. I will never let you get hurt again this time." "Huh? Hurt?" Linzian glanced at Oda Reina next to him, but she didn't tell him this. Oda Reina also noticed Linzian's eyes, didn't say anything, just grabbed his hand. "It seems that I am still too kind." Linzian originally thought that single-parent families would be verbally slandered and excluded at most, but he didn't expect to be hurt because of this. "What's going on?" Linzian's eyes were full of danger, and Saya Ryoko was scared to tell the story. A girl thought Oda Reina seduced her boyfriend, so she asked someone to beat her up. Later it was revealed that she was jealous of Oda Reina, and happened to see that everyone excluded her, so she made up an excuse. "I didn't." Oda Reina grabbed his hand and looked up at him. "I believe you, Reina is not such a person." Linzian patted Oda Reina's little hand with his other hand. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 118. "Then where did you go at that time?" Linzian asked Ryoko Sagaya. I. Sagali Ryoko hesitated, unable to explain. "You were either running away at that time, or you were watching a show." Linzian also guessed half of it. "Not only did she run away, she was the one who tricked Oda Reina into entering the toilet. There's nothing I can do, otherwise they'll beat me too." Ryoko Saga looked aggrieved. "Look, this is your friend you've known since elementary school." Linzian ignored Ryoko Saya's excuse and instead started talking to Reina Oda. "You." Ryoko Saga also knew that today's matter was not that simple. "What exactly do you want to do?" But no one paid attention to her. Linzian was teasing Oda Reina, and Oda Reina was cooperating with Linzian. "Reina, if you still want me to be your friend, go back to school." Ryoko Sagaya also broke the rules. She had used this trick many times and it worked every time. Oda Reina had no reaction to her, but her words angered Linzian. "Friend," Linzian looked at her, "are you worthy?" "What are you talking about? Reina and I have known each other since elementary school. We are not friends, are you?" Ryoko Saga also ignored her image and began to argue with Linzian. "You are just a neighbor. What qualifications do you have? Does it matter?" Linzian was not angry and said with a smile, "It doesn't matter whether I am qualified or not. I only know that you are not qualified to be Linne's friend." "Why do you say that?" Reina didn't even say anything. Seeing that Oda Reina didn't say anything, Sagali Ryoko wanted to gain some confidence from her. Who knew that Reina Oda glanced at her lightly and said, "What Unii-chan said is what I thought." "Oda Reina, you have changed." Ryoko Sagaya found that she did not recognize this Oda Reina. She would never dare to contradict herself before. Linzian laughed when he heard Ryoko Saga's words. If Reina Oda doesn't change, what's the point of his efforts? Ryoko Sagaya is affirming him. "Why are you laughing?" I'm leaving. Ryoko Sagaya also knew that Linzayan and Reina Oda were playing tricks on her. Wait a minute, Linzayan saw this and stopped him. Listen to me telling a little story first. Ryoko Sagaya didn't want to pay attention to him and still wanted to leave, but was immediately frightened. Sit down, Linzayan shouted loudly, scaring her to the ground. Do you think this is your home? You can come and leave whenever you want. Have you obtained the owner's permission? What do you want to do? Ryoko Sagaya was a little panicked now. Are you scared? Linzayan walked up to her and hung her up with one hand. As soon as Linzayan touched her, she started yelling for help. It's a pity that Linzayan has manipulated her here. No one can save her today. Linzayan threw her back and pinched her face. Did you feel what Lina felt at that time? Being called to the place by a good friend, only to find a group of people waiting for her. Did you feel that kind of despair? The expression on Linzayan's face became more and more ferocious, but there is still a difference between you and Lene. You were attracted by the benefits. I am the only one waiting for you. I have no choice but to do it myself. Lene doesn't understand this, so I have to do it myself. I hope you can support me for a long time and let me enjoy it. No, help, Reina, please help me. Ryoko Sagaya struggled wildly while asking for help from Oda Reina. But Oda Reina looked at all this without any fluctuation, and the corners of her mouth even curled up slightly. Of course she knew that Linzayan did this to show herself. Oni-chan, stop playing. Linzayan's expression suddenly changed and his movements stopped. Are my acting skills already so bad? Reina actually saw through it. Oni-chan's expression is too exaggerated. Oda Reina covered her mouth and snickered. Oh. That's it? Improve it next time. Now Linzayan lost interest in Ryoko Sagaya. Originally, Linzayan saw her poor acting skills and couldn't help but want to show off to show Ryoko Sagaya what acting skills were. Unexpectedly, Reina Oda saw through it. Ryoko Sagaya, who was squatting on the ground with his head in his hands, was also confused by this. What is this? Get up and sit down. Linzayan pointed to the ground and said to Ryoko Saga, you can leave after I finish telling the story. This time Ryoko Sagaya was obedient. You and Lingne met when we were in the 3rd grade of elementary school. Linzayan started talking when he saw her sitting down. At that time, you two were both marginalized figures in the class, and you didn't fit in with others. I don't know why. Maybe you had the same problem, so you two became friends. At that age, no one knows anything else, so friendship is still real. But as you grow older, you find that you always seem to have only Reina as a friend, so you blame all this on this stupid friend. But at that time, Reina was much better than you in terms of grades and appearance. These advantages only aroused your jealousy. You know that Reina is a person who attaches great importance to emotions, so you continue to use her, treating her as a follower, a tool, and even a punching bag. But these cannot satisfy your twisted desires. Reina's concession even gave you more terrifying thoughts, but none of this can be implemented because you still have to maintain your image, so you can only bury your filth in from the bottom of my heart. Soon, you find an opportunity. Even though you treated her like this, Reina still invited you to her house. You accidentally learned that Reina grew up in a single-parent family, and you seized this opportunity to push your friend off the cliff. I don't want to talk about the rest, you all know what you did. Linzayan still had to take care of Oda Reina's feelings, so there was no need to bring up those things again. Am I right? Linzayan looked at the trembling Sayarayoko. No, I really didn't. Sayarayoko didn't dare to look at Linzayan and Oda Reina. She didn't understand why Linzayan knew these things. Are you curious why I know these things? Linzayan knew what Sayarayoko was thinking without even thinking about it, and said sarcastically. A person who likes to say bad things about others behind their backs, likes to mock others, likes to lose temper, and thinks highly of himself. Do you know how famous you are in your school? I can find anyone to ask and know what kind of person you are. The funniest thing is that what I just said came from your own mouth. Can you please stop saying these things when you are showing off? It would be strange if someone like you had other friends. After saying this, Lin Zion gently tapped Oda Reina's head. Only a fool like Reina would keep believing you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 119. What are you doing, Ani-I-chan? Odarina touched the place where Lin Zion knocked her just now and asked dissatisfiedly. Who told you to be so stupid? Just cause trouble for me. This kind of SB has been far away a long time ago, and you still think of her as a friend. Lin Zion pointed at Ryoko Sagaya and said, without giving her any face. But then Reina won't be able to meet Ani-I-chan, and I feel it's not a loss. Odarina hugged Lin Zion's arm and pillowed it. What you said makes sense. Lin Zion laughed out loud. Have you said enough? Ryoko Sagaya felt like she was being humiliated endlessly here. What did you say? Lin Zion Fangfi's temper suddenly rose. Say it again. I'm sorry, Ryoko Saga gave up on the spot. Is it useful to be sorry? When you set her up behind her back, when you colluded with others to beat her, when you made her make a fool of herself in club activities, have you ever thought about how Reina felt? Was she a toy to you? Just should you let me eat lemons? Lin Zion pointed at her face and sprayed her on the spot. But I have made up for it. Ryoko Saga took a strong breath. Haha, Lin Zion laughed angrily. What have you made up for? If you can tell me, I will apologize on the spot and agree to your request. Didn't I always advise Reina to go to school? WDNMD, it's okay if you don't tell me, but I feel bad if you talk about it. Don't you know who you are for? Who had a bad reputation because of Reina dropping out of school? In order to restore her own tattered image, she led someone to force Reina to go back to school. If you had any conscience, you wouldn't do this. Don't you know what will happen to Reina after she goes back? Make up? What do you make up for NMLGB? Ryoko Sagaya was frightened by Lin Zion's continuous spray mixed with Mandarin. She stayed where she was, not knowing what to say. MD, it's really nice to have a bad mouth. Okay, let's talk about Reina's schooling. Huh, Ryoko Sagaya was awakened by Lin Zion's words. She originally had no hope for Reina to go to school, but now Reina wants to go to school. Ryoko Sagaya has already thought about it. No matter how Odarina changes, as long as she returns to school, she has plenty of ways to do it. Yes. I advised you. Lin Zion didn't care about Ryoko Saga's attitude. Then when will Reina go to school? Ryoko Sagaya seemed quite excited. The hardship just now was not in vain. If this can make Odarina less wary of her, it will be good for her actions. I will definitely protect Reina this time, Ryoko Saga assured Lin Zion by patting her chest. Her expression and movements were nothing short of standard. You don't need to worry about this. You can't protect him. Lin Zion waved his hand casually. Why? Ryoko Sagaya didn't understand what he meant. Reina is not in the same school as you. Does Qingshan Academy know? You can't even enter the school gate, so what kind of protection do you have? Lin Zion teased. Why don't you go back to your original school? Ryoko Saga looked at Reina Oda and asked. There are better schools, why should I go back? Odarina looked at her with a sneer. You bastards. Ryoko Sagaya didn't know that the two people were teasing her. She knew that she was destined to be unkind today, so she simply cursed. Did I say something wrong? You just don't have a father. Your mother got you by fooling around somewhere. How can you be better than me in everything? Why? Lin Zion grabbed the agitated Reina Oda and looked at Ryoko Sagaya with an unkind expression, There are some things I don't know and it's hard to talk about them, but what you said has nothing to do with Reina being better than you. Lin Zian walked up to her. Being better than you is better than you. No matter what you do, you can't change it. This is the fact. I don't believe it. Ryoko Saga took 2 steps back and pointed at Oda Reina. Don't I know what level she is? How could she possibly be admitted to Aoyama Academy? It's clearly her bitch, sensitive, mother who climbed onto you and let her you got her in. Lin Zian looked at the slightly crazy Ryoko Saga and smiled. You haven't seen her for so long, how do you know? Lin Zian turned around and walked towards Oda Reina, not to mention that Reina got in based on her true strength. Even if I sent her in, what about you? You, Ryoko Saga turned around and wanted to leave here. Don't think that everything will be fine if you rely on a fool, you will definitely regret it. Yo. He would also say harsh words. Lin Zian looked at Ryoko Saga who walked to Zhang Zimen and took out something from underneath. Come back, Lin Zian shouted unhurriedly. Ryoko Saga did not stop, but instead quickened her pace. As soon as she put her hand on the door, she heard a voice behind her. It's not Lin Zian's, nor Oda Reina's, but her own. Ryoko Saga turned around and saw Lin Zian holding a silver-white recording pen in his hand. The recorder is still working, playing back the conversation they just had. What on earth do you want to do? Ryoko Saga rushed towards Lin Zian to grab the recorder. But it is definitely impossible to succeed. Why don't you be obedient? Lin Zian frowned slightly, as if he was dissatisfied with Ryoko Saga's attitude. What on earth do you want to do? Ryoko Saga gritted her teeth, wanting to tear apart the man in front of her. Lin Zian ignored her and muttered to himself. You can't stay in school because of Reina's expulsion. If I cut this recording and put it online, where do you think you can stay? Lin Zian turned to look at Oda Reina. A perfect story, betrayal, school bullying, friends, this kind of theme is very popular. There's no way, sympathizing with the weak and hating betrayal is human nature. Lin Zian turned to look at Ryoko again, holding the recorder in his hand and waving it in front of her. Do you want it? Ryoko's eyes couldn't help but sway. Go get it if you want it. Lin Zian threw the recorder out casually. And Ryoko flew out and caught the recorder, laughing wildly. Be good. Lin Zian looked at her crazy look and waved to her. Give it to me. Give it to you. You crazy? Ryoko was a little excited, holding the recorder in one hand, and her face looked scary with a look of wanting to cry and laugh. What a pity, the answer is wrong. Lin Zian shook his head, walked to the side, and took out a mobile phone from behind the cabinet. Sorry, I not only recorded it, but also recorded it. Lin Zian turned on his phone and played the video of her jumping like a dog just now for herself. Ah, Ryoko dragged her shaky body, handed the recorder to Lin Zian, and then fell to the ground. My Retirement Life in Neon. Author, Wu Nangkuang Song. Chapter 120. Is this a collapse? I haven't had enough fun yet. Lin Zian looked at the lost Saga Ryoko who was sitting on the ground. Okay, I am an outsider. I have no right to decide this matter. Lin Zian also felt that the game was almost over and it was time to go back to eat, so he handed the recording pen to Oda Reina. Oda Reina took the recorder and looked at Ryoko Saga on the ground. She recalled everything in the past, but now she no longer needed this, and this matter should come to an end. I won't put it online, you can rest assured, but I will keep it. Oda Reina put away the recorder. Reina, you. Ryoko Saga was also surprised by Oda Reina's decision. After all, she was really going too far. If it were him, he would definitely not let her go so easily. You should be lucky that it was Reina you met. If it were me, you know the consequences. Oda Reina had already given up, so there was no need for him to continue, but he still couldn't help but say something. The pain and humiliation you suffered today is less than 1% of what Reina suffered. And do you know, what hurts her the most? Being betrayed by what she considered her best friend. All I ask of you is to avoid Reina, don't try to challenge me. Oni-chan is gone. Oda. Reina went out first, and Linzian glanced at Ryoko Saga before following. Reina, why did you let her go just now? If I do what Oni-chan says, what's the difference between me and her? Looks like I'm the villain again. Linzian felt like he had been a villain for so long and was suddenly compared to him. And Oni-chan doesn't like being betrayed at all. Reina won't become such a person. No. Linzian seemed to have remembered something, and his expression looked a bit like he was reminiscing. No one betrayed me. Because everyone who betrayed him died. Watching the two people leave, Ryoko Saga thought of what Linzian had just said and what she had done with Odarina in the past, and the tears she had been holding back burst out. Reina. I was wrong, forgive me. It's a pity that no one can hear her words. Linzian and Odarina returned home, but did not see Oda Michiko, so they went directly to the second floor. He just noticed that the arrangement of shoes at the door had changed. He knew that Michiko Oda was also present, so he spoke openly. I'm in. Linzian knocked on the door and went in without waiting for her to respond. As soon as Linzian entered, he saw Michiko Oda with her back to him. How about it? Do you know whether you are qualified? Seeing that Oda Michiko remained silent, Linzian turned around and opened the door, pulling in Oda Reina, who was eavesdropping outside. Let Lingnae speak. She is the person involved and the most qualified. Linzian went out directly. He was tired of crying every day and left it to the mother and daughter to solve it themselves. He has to cook for Zio by now. He just needs to eat the canned food from time to time, so as not to lose the freshness and be too anxious or lazy when the time comes. Linzian tore open the fish meat with his hands, picked out the fish bones, and fed Zio by small pieces. By the time Oda and his daughter came out, it was already half an hour later. Done. Yes. Oda Reina walked up to Linzian, looking like she was hesitant to speak. What's wrong? Linzian was a little scared now. I want to sleep separately from my mother. Oda Reina didn't know why, she was coy. Oh. You said this. Linzian had mentioned it to them before, but they didn't agree. Linzian looked at the time. It was not 5 o'clock yet, that was enough. Which room are you two going to? Linzian wanted to ask clearly. After all, each room is different in size, so the size of the bed is naturally different. I want the room next to Oni-chan. I'll just sleep where I am. Michiko Oda has never had any requirements, or in other words, such conditions are already very good for her. Okay, let's buy the bed and cabinets today, and do the rest tomorrow. Linzian thought for a moment, and then made a plan to get the basics done first, and leave the rest until tomorrow. Neither of them had any objections to Linzian's decision. To be honest, except for his room, the rest of the rooms are not big. It is estimated that the original owner did not intend for others to live in it, but just built it there. Buying these things is very fast. When you go to the place where you have selected them, ask him to deliver them. Ask them to help install them, or you can do it yourself. Linzian chose to do it by himself. There were some things he had to do himself to feel at ease. Besides, it wasn't much trouble in the first place, it was very easy for him. These beds have been stored at the seller's place for a long time, so they don't need ventilation. The cabinets do, but he put them on the third floor to let the air out. The beds Linzian bought for them both had wooden bases and soft cushions. Okay, this is basically done. He has already done the hard work, and the rest is left to Michiko Oda. Of course, Reina Oda can't escape either. Mom, Oni-chan is so strong. Reina Oda thought of Linzian's terrifying strength and lifted the bed up by herself, even though it was separately assembled. Michiko Oda was in a daze. She had come into close contact with Linzian. The strength he showed at that time made her despair, but now she feels at ease. Hurry up and clean up, I have to cook. I know. Odarina ran around with a rag. Ani-chan, Odarina opened the door rashly and ran in. What's the matter? Lin Zion turned over and got off the bed. He had just finished taking a shower, so it would be best if there were no trouble. Help me comb my hair. Odarina ran to him and turned around, leaving her hair facing Lin Zion. Didn't you always ask your mother to help you? Why did you ask me today? Lin Zion put down the phone in his hand and fiddled with her hair. I don't want to bother my mother today. Reina has grown up. Is there a conflict? Lin Zion thought of what happened today. Don't believe what I say. Don't you know who your mother is? There are not many mothers like this. Lin Zion was afraid that because of his nonsense, the two of them had a misunderstanding, and he would have to take the blame again. What are you talking about, Ani-chan? Odarina stamped her feet anxiously. She just wanted Lin Zion to help her comb her hair. Why did he talk about this? Humph. Ani-chan is such a big fool, she doesn't understand this. Okay, Lin Zion helped her smooth her hair. It felt good, but not as shiny as Xiaobai's hair. Ani-chan, Odarina turned and looked at him. Reina tonight. Stop, Lin Zion interrupted her. If you're scared tonight, go sleep with your mom. Don't expect me to help you watch the door. Ani-chan. You big idiot. Odarina turned around and left in anger. She just wanted to ask Lin Zion if she was beautiful tonight. Who knew she would be said like this? Lin Zion watched her walk out. He only knew that he could sleep well tonight.